You ever get that feeling that there are these invisible currents at work kind of pulling the strings behind the scenes? Well, you're not wrong. Today we're going to dive into the powerful, unseen psychological forces that shape our work lives every single day, from the meetings we're in to the promotions we get or don't get.
So, let me just ask you straight up. Is your brain on autopilot? I mean, we all like to think we're in the driver's seat for every decision, right? But the truth is, our brains are constantly using mental shortcuts just to get through the day. It's a survival thing. But that efficiency, it comes with a hidden cost that can seriously undermine fairness at work. Get this. Every single second, your brain is getting hit with about 11 million pieces of information. It's just a crazy number. And out of all that noise, you want to know how much we can actually consciously process? About 40. Yeah, 40. So to deal with that huge gap, our brains create these shortcuts. And that, right there, is where things get really, really interesting.
Okay, so this autopilot system, it runs on what you could call mental tapes. You know, these conditioned responses that have been wired into our brains over years and years of experiences. And these exact same tapes, they're the root cause of something that affects every single one of us: unconscious bias.
So, what even is unconscious bias? Well, think of it like your brain's super-fast automatic sorting system. These are the snap judgments we all make without even realizing we're doing it. And listen, this isn't about being a good or bad person. It's just a product of our culture, our upbringing, all the messages we've soaked up our whole lives that tell our brain what's normal.
So how does this autopilot brain of ours actually mess with our workday? Let's break it down and decode the most common types of bias that pop up around the office. Because learning to spot them is the absolute first step. Not just in other people, but yeah, in ourselves too.
It is so critical to get the difference between two kinds of bias. Explicit bias, that's the stuff we're aware of. It's conscious. But the really tricky ones are the implicit biases. They live and operate way below the surface, and sometimes they can go completely against the values we think we have.
And boy, do these biases show up in a million ways. You ever just instantly click with someone because they went to the same college? That's affinity bias. Or what about the halo effect? You know, where one amazing thing on a resume, like a fancy university, makes a manager totally overlook other weaknesses. Even a name can do it. Studies show that resumes with more familiar sounding names get more callbacks. Every one of these little shortcuts can unfairly tip the scales.
To really get the real-world impact of this, just take a second and think about this question. Seriously, how would you feel? Because for many women in certain parts of the world, this isn't some thought experiment. It's their daily life, shaped by systemic biases that crush their potential. It makes this whole abstract idea of bias feel very, very real.
So when people are constantly having to fight against these invisible forces, just to get hired, to be heard, to get promoted, it does more than just create an unfair system. It creates chronic, crushing stress. And that brings us to the second hidden force we're talking about today: a full-blown stress epidemic in the workplace. And let's be super clear here. We are not talking about just having a bad day. Workplace stress is a pattern of really damaging reactions that happens when the demands of your job are constantly more than you feel you can handle. And when that feeling of being overwhelmed never goes away, that leads to burnout, tanks your productivity, and can cause serious health problems.
So what helps us cope with all this? Well, check this out. It's pretty fascinating. Research shows that people with no work experience report way higher stress levels than people who've been in the workforce for a year or more. It seems like experience and education act as these crucial buffers, almost like they give us better tools to manage the pressure over time.
Okay, so we've looked at the problems, our autopilot brains, and the stress that comes from them. But here's the good news, and it is really good news. We are not powerless. So now, let's talk about the solutions. How we can consciously start building workplaces that are more fair and more resilient. I absolutely love this quote because it completely reframes the challenge. The goal isn't to magically erase our biases. I mean, that's pretty much impossible. The real goal is to consciously re-record over those old mental tapes by choosing to act differently based on facts, not just gut feelings.
So how do we actually turn off the autopilot? Well, it's a two-step process. It's simple, but that doesn't mean it's easy. Step one is just awareness. Start noticing your own mental tapes. Pay attention to your gut reactions. And then step two, this is the game changer, is to use your freedom of choice.
Once you notice that automatic reaction, you can pause and consciously choose to respond based on logic instead of letting that old stereotype run the show.
Okay, theory is great, but what can you actually do tomorrow morning? This last part is all about that. It's a practical toolkit you can start using right away to make a real difference for yourself and for your whole team.
You know, companies can literally build fairness right into their systems. Take blind hiring, where you remove names from resumes. It's a game changer because it forces everyone to focus only on qualifications. Same thing for promotions. If you have objective, clear criteria, it's a lot harder for subjective feelings to sneak in. These aren't just feel-good ideas. They're real, structural changes that work.
And for you personally, we can all build our own resilience to stress. Simple things like mindfulness meditation are proven to lower stress hormones. Setting clear boundaries, like just turning off work notifications after hours, can protect your mental space. These are real tools that put you back in the driver's seat.
And hey, here's a surprising tool for your kid. Humor. A good laugh does way more than just lighten the mood. It actually fires up the parts of your brain that are linked to creativity and problem solving. A little lightheartedness can break down barriers, cut the tension, and create an environment where awesome ideas can actually happen.
So we end up right back where we started, with a choice. You can't just hit delete on those old mental tapes. They've been programmed over years. But, and this is the whole point, you are not just a passenger. You are the one holding the remote. So the only question left is, what will you choose to record over them?